Hello guys, it's Chris here, otherwise known as UtdActive on Twitter. Now today isn't the greatest of podcasts in terms of positivity, and we have to give these updates and some home truths to the Manchester United fans. What's gone on today? It's going to be a lengthy podcast. I'm going to talk about my opinions first and then some updates as we go throughout those opinions. You know, some of the stuff today, there's a lot of stuff gone out, so we're going to explain that a little bit in detail, mainly around Ronaldo, obviously, the shocker that's come out today. We'll explain how that might not be too much of a shock. And then obviously Frenkie de Jong and Laporta's comments, how that is now being perceived on Twitter. Is it embarrassing for Manchester United, what's gone on, and explaining some of those details. And just some home truths to United fans and anyone that's listening to this podcast to give you a greater understanding that not everything you read or that's reported is up to date or is relevant or holds any basis of what's going on. So might be a little bit of negativity. You know, I don't like normally doing that, but I have to be honest and obviously transparent with these things. So I just want to go through it with you guys. So first and foremost, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? So Duncan Castle's got his exclusive now. Not a lot of people listen to Duncan Castles. That's the truth. A lot of people don't think he's reliable. That's the honest truth that's out there. But when it comes to stuff like Ronaldo or stuff to do with Mendes' clients, Duncan Castle's pretty much on point. And a lot of people criticize him for those sort of things, but he is pretty much on point for those particular things. What I will say is this news isn't fresh. It's not today, and I'll explain it in a minute because I've looked into it a little bit more and asked a few necessary people around it. Then, obviously, David Ornstein has come out and confirmed what Duncan Castles has said. Then other journalists, of course, jump on the back of it and make their own story. So then it's widespread, of course, because they want people to read their sort of articles and papers or go to the website. A lot of engagement around that, and especially when it comes to Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, one of the biggest athletes, if not the biggest one in sports. So a lot of people want to jump on that one and those sort of things. And you get all these mystical tweets from some of these journalists. And I'll be honest with you, it's incredibly boring to see. And they still do it. And they're working for some respective papers and they still do it. It's mind-numbing how they do it. And obviously it sends fans into meltdown who don't quite understand transfers and those sort of things. So it's a vicious circle on Twitter sometimes. Now, when it comes to Cristiano and Ronaldo, this isn't new. This has been ongoing for months. This is before Ten Hag was even announced as a Manchester United, before even the players knew that Ten Hag was going to be the Manchester United manager. There was a lot of issues at Manchester United historically before Ten Hag was announced. A lot of stuff that got Solskjaer sacked and a lot of stuff with Rangnick can resolve in terms of the dressing room. You know, some of the players not being ambitious or up to scratch to the performance, which Ronaldo has clearly stated over the last few months that he doesn't feel some of the players are playing for Manchester United. You know, Ronaldo is coming up to 38, so he's only got a couple of years left, you would think, right? So he wants the best Manchester United, and we're not seeing a lot of transfer activity, and we're not seeing a lot of transfer activity from Manchester United's point of view in terms of what he's seeing, because they're probably not getting told much. Now, we have had some movement over the last few days, which is what I've explained and expected to. But just signing Tyrell and Lisandro Martinez wouldn't be enough for Ronaldo. So there's the likes of Frenkie de Jong that obviously we're going to talk about in a minute. And there's other things that he wants Manchester United to do to show them to be successful. And the other problem you've got is that Manchester United, and I have said it, they're not in the Champions League, which tells you a little bit of a sure hand in transfers and how you pay, transfers, how players see your club. They want to play for the Champions League. And Ronaldo has always played Champions League football. So Ronaldo's made his intentions clear to Manchester United, and the story is validated, is that if someone makes a suitable offer, he is asking that he could have permission to leave. Now, Manchester United have come out and said, through Luckhurst and other people that are mouthpieces to Manchester United, that they don't want to sell Ronaldo this summer. They want to keep him. And obviously, that he's got another year under the contract. Now, there's some stuff around Chelsea. I'm not expecting Chelsea to even be in the race. And the only reason why I say that is because Manchester United and the Glazers won't want to sell their prized asset, their brand. And similar to how Tom Brady is for them in America, they wouldn't want to sell Ronaldo to Chelsea, and they would say, well, at least 30, 40 million pounds for him, right? Which no one's going to pay that at this point in time, but Chelsea might try and do it. But I don't see Chelsea in the race. There isn't a lot of clubs where Ronaldo can go to do his wages and those sort of things. He's not going to win anything at Chelsea for Champions League. Chelsea are a very, very good team. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic manager. They can compete. Of course they can. But I don't see them winning the Champions League or stuff. But Man United aren't in that position either. So we can't discredit Chelsea for that sense. But if he's going to go somewhere, it would be somewhere like Bayern Munich or return to Madrid under the news, because they're making some good statement signings this summer, and they've obviously got a good squad. So there's those potential offers that you could potentially see for a year or two that might suit those two squad. But Ronaldo's made it clear that he would like to leave Manchester United. But there are some things that could make him stay. Obviously, if Manchester United hurry up some of their transfer business and show they're trying to make changes next summer, because Ronaldo wants to compete, and you're not going to compete with the current squad. Ten Hag is a fantastic manager, but he needs signings, and signings that will be behind him to get his philosophy of football. You aren't going to do that in the current squad. Now, I know I'm picking on a few players, but I'm going to do this because I'm trying to be truthful to you guys, right? If you've got Scott McTominay and Fred in the midfield and you haven't changed that yet, then Ronaldo's turning around looking at those two players in Pacific, and obviously Harry Maguire in defence. And there's some other players, of course. I'm not picking on them mainly, but they've been issues last season. You're not going to say that's a competitive squad. You could get the best manager in the world, Guardiola, Klopp. They would all struggle with that midfield, okay? So Ten Hag has come in and said that he wants Frenkie de Jong and Christian Eriksen, which is a massive upgrade to what Manchester United already have. But those deals at the moment, and I'll explain Eriksen after at the moment, I'll explain Frenkie in a minute, because there is a slight situation with that one. And I just want to clarify what's going on with the Frenkie de Jong situation and why it's been going on for ages and doesn't seem to have any sign of completing personal terms. Now, we know the fees agreed, and I'll explain in a minute. That's done deal in that sense, right? But what I want to clarify is this, is Ronaldo would stay if Manchester United do good in the market. But at the moment, they haven't signed anyone significant. So he's looking at it and saying, well, past history, how the Glazers are, and now the sort of Manchester United have been, he's not convinced. And that is why the message is being put out there. However, what I want to say is this is not new news. This isn't from today that this has suddenly happened. There's been weeks of this where he's asked Manchester United to see what they're doing. But also there's a lot of reporters, there's some people who have gone back to say that January and December, the time of when he wanted to leave. And if you remember around that time, there was a lot of leaks going on at Manchester United just after Solskjaer was sacked. And there was a lot of stuff going on. And Ronaldo wasn't happy in how the dressing room, there was issues between a few people in the dressing room, and obviously how ambitious some of the players were. Ronaldo was like, well, this club is completely different to what it was under Ferguson, and it absolutely was. And a lot of players have said that when they've come into Manchester United. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, when he was there, he said that the dressing room is smaller mentality than what he expected it to be. And there are players at Manchester United that aren't good enough that are there. And I know I'm picking on them, and it's not their fault. It's just the way Manchester United have dealt over many years. We expect that to change, but it's a slow progress. And the problem you've got is that Ronaldo is 37, coming close to 38. He doesn't want to spend another season without winning trophies. Now, you as fans would say, but Ronaldo's won everything, but he's a very ambitious individual. When you're ambitious, you always want to do something, want to achieve something year in, year out, to be remembered for it. People like Ronaldo want those particular sort of accolades. So you have to understand that from situation. But at the moment, the current update I've got is that Manchester United have no intentions to sell him whatsoever. They want to keep him for another year. And also the problem they would have is then looking for a striker. Now, the interesting thing is, and I've been mentioning it for the last couple of weeks, is I was told Manchester United are looking at another striker, which could coincide why Ronaldo could potentially leave, is because they're trying to make a backup plan in case that happens. Now, that is the understanding from what I'm feeling now from the club, and that's the reason why I kind of was knocked back when I was told they were going for a striker, because I didn't expect it after them not signing Nunes and potentially going for a winger. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that one, and I think it's going to go on and on for a little bit of time, and we'll get more news as we go along. But that's the home truth. But before we go on to Frenkie de Jong, a lot of fans are having meltdown on Twitter around Ronaldo and stuff like this. But what you have to remember is this: not everything you read is updated, and not everything you see on Twitter is news. And you get a lot of accounts that play on stories, start to be negative. There's a lot of big accounts that do this. And unfortunately, on social media, that starts to roll over to the other people, and it's a vicious circle. And to be honest with you, I would have thought by now United fans would have learned how the transfer market works. No transfer for Manchester United has ever been easy in the last few years, and it's not going to suddenly change because you've got a new team. The only thing that's changing at the moment is their ability to work on multiple deals, which is positive, and they have been doing that behind the scenes. And a lot of people have questioned that, but it is coming out now. And I told you guys, but it is up to you if you want to listen or not. But that is what that one is, and that's Ronaldo's situation right now, and that it could go either way. But Manchester United, what they will have to do is they will have to sign a striker if Ronaldo leaves, or an attacker, because if Ronaldo leaves, they can't go into the season with Marcus and Martial. And I know Ten Hag has the keen to develop players, but it will take some time. He needs an out-and-out striker that is an out-and-out striker. Rashford and Martial sometimes like to drift, whip, and come in. So they're not out-and-out strikers. They could be, but they're not at that point, or that isn't their craft at this point in time. So Rashford can play in the middle, but as I said, they need an out-and-out striker. My issue wouldn't be if Ronaldo leaves, because, he's a fantastic player. I'm not going to discredit what he did last season, but Manchester United need to move forward to a new generation. Ronaldo, needs to go potentially or stay. It's entirely up to you how you feel about that one. But what I'm saying is that my issue would not be with Ronaldo. My issue is with the club if they don't reinvest or sign a striker, because then you'll delve in a shorthand to Ten Hag, and then what you're saying about backing the manager and stuff doesn't correlate to what you're giving him. So there's a lot of stuff around that. And it's a little bit, and it will go on for weeks, I expect. But hopefully it doesn't, and it gets resolved pretty quickly, or what that is. But Manchester United, as I said, to recap, are saying that the player isn't available for any club right now. So we'll waive that Manchester United could be resilient if they can't find a striker. So they could be doing that until they actually agree a deal with a striker, the one they're talking about. And if they can get a deal, then they would probably let him leave. But at this point in time, there isn't anything related to that one. But it is what it is on that one. Now we'll go to Frenkie de Jong. So this is a bit of a strange one, because we've been told, I've been told, and a lot of papers have been told, so has a couple of people from Manchester Evening News, that everything is signed in terms of the deal of the agreement with Barcelona. So you've got the 65 million euros and the 20 million add-ons. That was all agreed upon, and they're just waiting for Frenkie de Jong to come back to holiday for personal terms. And they need to agree personal terms to complete that deal off. But we were told it was a done deal in the sense of the finances. Now, Laporta's come out and said this. Now, I take this with a pinch of salt, and I'll explain to you in a minute, because a lot of United fans are having a meltdown without looking at the actual picture and how Laporta presents himself into the media. Very simple and straightforward. And I'll tell his words now. So just give me a second. I'm going to pick them up and I'll tell you exactly what he said. So 1 second, I'll show you exactly what he said. It's not off the cusp, the podcast, in terms of some of the stuff. I never script them because I've got my updates down, but I never script these sort of things. So let's go to it. 1 second, and I'll show you. Here we go. So Jean Laporta has said this. There are clubs that want Frenkie de Jong, not just United. We have no intention of selling him. He wants to stay. Now, let's take that. There are clubs that want him. So he's saying that there's more than one club, which is normal. And he's trying to say that obviously there are clubs that want, not just Manchester United. He's saying we have no intention of selling him. He wants to stay. Now, if you go back last year, the same thing happened with Messi. And there was problems with Messi because they couldn't reduce his wages. And they couldn't reduce it too much. Now, I don't think they will have the ability to be able to reduce Frenkie de Jong's wages too low for him to accept. Although he said that he wants to stay and accept the wages, we'll have to wait and see on that particular front. But if you look at it, it's almost parallel to what he said about Messi, and Messi had to leave. So he's kind of working, and a lot of politicians do this, and I'm going back to it. A lot of politicians make you want them for you to believe, and they'll do the complete opposite of what they've said you've done. So you got to take that with a pinch of salt, and you got to read between the lines on that one. And then the next thing he says, Frenkie is considered one of the best midfielders in the world by all experts. We are happy to have him. So he's not criticizing the player openly because he wants to say that we appreciate you, but we have to sell you. And I'll explain it in a minute of why that is the way it is. Then he does this, and it's very much scripted because he said the exact same thing about Messi last year. I'm going to do everything I can in my power so that Frenkie stays here. He said the same thing for Messi, and he never achieved it. Right? But and then this is the key part. But there's also a salary issue, and that would have to be adjusted. To what? He's not explained what it is. He's just saying there needs to be a wage. So he's blaming the player. He's basically quietly blaming the player for leaving. And he's also saying that the wages are a problem. Not that it's a financial issue for Barcelona or that they need to sell him for sporting reasons to reinvest, because some fans won't be happy about it, right? But Barcelona are not going to play him week in, week out. And that's the problem that Frenkie de Jong has, is that Barcelona have, and I will say this as polite as I can to Manchester United fans, they have better midfielders that suit Xavi's system. They now have Kessie, they have Gavi, they have Pedri. They're not going to be sitting on the bench. Neither is the other players. You've got another one, Sergio's there as well. That's 4 midfielders that will probably want to play. So Frenkie de Jong wasn't sensational last year. So there's a lot of stuff that's gone on behind the scenes that he won't talk about, but they're great. Now you have to look at this logically, and I'm telling the fans this now, home truths about this one, okay? It's as simple as that. Manchester United have been negotiating for months for Frenkie de Jong, and suddenly he ends up staying. So what do you think Manchester United have done? Do you think they've just sat there for 3 or 4 months to say, oh, okay, Barcelona, keep him? How embarrassing is that for a club, especially for Richard Arnold and obviously John? They would have known that straight away. Frenkie de Jong would have said, I'm staying at Barcelona, there's nothing. Why are Manchester United still negotiating everything, including his personal terms, and agreed a deal with everything going to be officially signed off soon with Frenkie de Jong if he wasn't coming? You've got to be logical. You read tweets and you read stuff and you suddenly have a meltdown. It's mind-numbing. And I'm telling you this politely, and I know I'm trying to be as polite as possible, but you just read everything in a narrow sense and you have a meltdown for absolutely no reason. There's no reason for it. I'm telling you, there's no reason for it. Manchester United are not going to be negotiating for months and agree a deal with Barcelona and then talk about personal terms with Frenkie de Jong. Ten Hag would have known within 5 seconds, or 5 minutes of speaking to Frenkie de Jong, if he wanted to stay at Barcelona or come to Manchester United. They would have known from the direct dialogue after the assembly for Barcelona, who knew how much their finances were going to be to keep Frenkie de Jong, right? what I'm expecting Laporta to do in the next few days or in weeks is to say, we're still trying to get investment from our levers. It's not possible. So we're having to sell a player, yada, yada. It's all PR narrative with Laporta. He's very much a politician. He's quite smart in what he does. But what I expect him to do next is to say, we haven't got all our investments yet. Xavi needs money into the squad to reinvest. We're in a good position to give him that if we sell a player. And that is what the narrative is coming out from Barcelona. And people do not read between the lines. The same thing happened with Messi because they're trying to dampen the situation and do damage control from it. But the truth of the matter is, Barcelona don't need Frenkie de Jong. And the board weren't impressed with him. And he's a good asset to sell. So there are issues there with that one. And I don't think you're looking at this properly. And it's just me being honest with how I feel sometimes with you guys, is that you're the greatest fan base in the world, but you are incredibly frustrating at the same time because you absolutely go off on a tangent and you don't look at things logically and sit back for 5 or 10 minutes and say, why has he said that? And I'm explaining to you. It's up to you to listen. It's not, I don't care. To me, it's irrelevant. I'm here to report things. I'm not there to change your opinion. I'm just here to give you some guidance and offer you what is going on. It's up to you if you want to listen or not. It's up to you if you want to start raging on Twitter, if you want to start being toxic on Twitter. That's entirely up to you. That is nothing to do with me. I don't care, okay? I'm here to report, to give you advice. And if you want to listen, listen. If you don't, that's fine. Doesn't concern me or bother me either way, okay? But I'm just telling you those reasons. And that's those two players gone and gusted. The next thing we're going to talk about is Lisandro Martinez. David Ornstein's come out this evening saying Arsenal is still in the race, Manchester United. But obviously Ten Hag is the key factor. If Manchester United match the same bid as Arsenal will do, then he will go to Manchester United. It's as simple as that. It's in Manchester United's core to do the right offer for Martinez. He would prefer to go to Manchester United. He'd prefer to work under Ten Hag. Why? Because he can adapt to the Premier League quickly. Under Ten Hag, he knows the system under Ten Hag, and he already knows how he's already played for Ten Hag. Those are the sort of appeals to it. There's no point in him going to Arsenal with a manager that he's never been managed by and doesn't understand what's expected from him. And to go from the Dutch league to the Premier League is never an easy transition. We've seen it with many, many players. Yes, some people have been successful, but in recent times, a lot of players have struggled going into the Premier League. So it's better to go to Ten Hag than he is with Arteta. So be logical with that one and stop panicking about Arsenal. Period. Simple. Done. That's all we need to talk about in that sense. Now, what I am going to do is do the questions from Discord. So let's have a look what they are. And I'm just checking on it. Here we go. So, anything on surprise striker? Not at the moment. Thank you for the question. No, I can't reveal it at the moment until it is. De Jong Ungabunga, still okay, right? Yes, it is. I told you with the fee, sorting out the personal terms. They have to agree the personal terms as well. But everything is on track. Validated the rumors Ronaldo, how it affects the transfer priorities? Good question. So I've just explained Ronaldo, but I will explain that it doesn't affect the transfer priorities at all. Ten Hag will still get the ones that he wants. Glazers, though, will probably sanction an additional transfer if Ronaldo leaves, because obviously they'd like someone like that for brand purposes. So they would want someone, top striker or stuff like that. That's why I don't rule out Neymar, but I don't expect Neymar at all. But you never know with the Glazers. They're a little bit mad in that sense. Joel Felix, Timo Werner, and Scalamacca. I don't know how to spell his name, but it is what it is. These players at the moment, we could probably discuss them later on the transfer window. I don't see Timo Werner coming. Scalamanga and Felix would be the perfect players. I know they've been scouted before, but there is nothing concrete at the moment with that. Does Laporta want more money for Frenkie de Jong deal, or is it not possible at this stage of the deal? Can always change the narrative with that one because it's not officially signed off. It has been agreed as a done deal, but it hasn't officially been signed off. So, he can change what he thinks, but I very much know he's doing that. As I said, and I explained it in the Frenkie de Jong section, that all of this is done for a reason for the media. He made a reason to go out to the media and put that out today. Hi, Chris. Is there a solution that can stop the fans from being reactionary? Well, there isn't, because fans, it's not just football. People are reactionary in their day-to-day life and society and the way they are. If we had a mute button with a remote, that would be amazing, because I'd be muting a lot of people. I would say to you, actually, Sandman, who said it on Discord, is that if you have someone that's being rude or reactionary, just block them. A lot of people under my tweets will be rude to me when it's not my news or I'm reporting it from a journalist. But I block them because I have no interest in engaging in trolls. And that is just your best way of doing it, because you don't get to see them again, unless they make odds, of course. Chris Eriksen news. Eriksen's already decided. We don't know what is going to happen with that one yet. Hopefully we get something official in the next few days. But he doesn't seem to be rushing publicly to say about it, but it is what it is. Chris, what is the club planning to do after Martinez? After Martinez, well, they're trying to get Frenkie de Jong all sorted, so that will be next. DM, new Kante's still an option. Kante's still on the list, so that is with what it take that with a pinch of salt. If Ronaldo does leave with his wages off the bill, yes, it would allow another player to come in. Because you have to remember, Pogba's left, right? Pogba's left, Matic is left. Mata's left. There's some wages that have gone off, so they would be able to do that one. Chris, if Ronaldo leaves, do talks for Anthony pick up again? I would say so, yes. I would say that Ten Hag will push again for Anthony. But again, Manchester United don't want to pay 80 million euros. Ten Hag is respecting that as well. He doesn't think that they should be paying 80 million euros either, and they don't want to make transfer mistakes. So we'll have to see if they drop their price for that one. But Ajax seem to be concrete in saying 80 million euros or nothing kind of thing. So we'll have to see. But I think Ten Hag will try and push for that. And then Manchester United might pay a little bit more than what they would originally do if Ronaldo leaves. So it'd be an interesting one to see what happens. But that's it today, guys. As I said, stop being reactionary. Stay calm. Stop being rude to each other. You're all on the same fan base. Stop listening to big accounts that like to be negative and say things haven't changed, because they're doing it for engagement purposes. They honestly don't care what they tweet or what they put out. They just put out utter nonsense because they feel like it will get you engaged, to follow them, to buy their product, to go and look at their videos. There's a lot of accounts that do that, unfortunately, and that's just the vicious circle of social media and platform. I don't like it. You don't like it. So stop giving them the time of day to entertain it. Stop looking at ITKs. Stop looking at people that are pretending to be ITKs. Stop looking at all this sort of nonsense that comes out from different accounts. Once you'll be better off. I don't honestly read much people on Twitter. I look at my news and report with good people. I speak to a lot of good people, a lot of nice people, a lot of chilled out people that don't worry about the situation, same as me. I'm not concerned about the Manchester United transfer window at all. You guys can have a meltdown if you want. That's entirely up to you. It is not important to me, but as long as, it is done polite and respectfully, that is what it is. So that is where we are in the transfer window. Please don't panic, and we will expect to see some more stuff tomorrow on Sunday, and I would say on Monday the news is heating up. But Manchester United have a plan for everything, a plan for all scenarios, and I'm very calm about who they're targeting, some of the other transfers that they could potentially do to actually even improve the squad even better. So there's a lot of stuff. I'm not concerned if a deal collapses. I'm not concerned about anything from Manchester United's point of view. I can trust what they're going to do this summer. I'm very relaxed about the situation. I know that they can do deals at the drop of the hat. It might seem slow to you, but I'm very calm, and it's not been slow at all from stuff I've been getting through. So stay calm, stay off Twitter maybe, and just relax. And I hope this podcast, I know it's a little bit off the cusp, but I appreciate you guys. As you're always, we're nearly hitting 19,000 followers on Twitter, which is amazing, because my target was for us guys to hit 20,000. You know me, I don't care too much about followers, but I want to build a safe environment for United fans to actually come and enjoy talking in Discord or coming onto my YouTube, always respect polite people and well-mannered people. That is the same with me. You'll never get that from me. There's a little bit of banter now and again, as always, because after all, we like to do that in football. So it is what it is. But I appreciate all the subscribers on YouTube, the people that are coming in Discord, and ultimately everyone that works for UtdActive, and ultimately the followers on Twitter. So I appreciate you guys. Go and have a drink, go and relax, go and do whatever. Take your mind off Manchester United. Everything's in the right place. I'm not concerned. You should not be concerned. You will get what you need to get this summer, and I trust in what Ten Hag is doing. But take care now, guys. Peace.